Now finally we're going to go down to information. We'll go through this relatively quickly because there's not a lot to say about it in terms of being expressive. Even though it's a mode of expression, is dealing with information and the information line, it's not anything that is overly artistic. It's giving people data. And how exciting can that be? These are the ones that are exciting. This is the one that is the, I don't know, the foundation, knowledge base of what's going on in the rest of them. And it's down at the bottom here, creating a knowledge base. How clever of us to put it there, how accidental. Our first example now is going to be the intersection of universe and information. What happens when we're trying to give information about a situation? Well, it's describing what it is, or where it is, or the nature of the beast. And that's what we have down here. What it is, where it is, nature of the beast. And our first example will illustrate that quite nicely. Now this example doesn't say the whole movie is like this, from which we take the example. Certainly it's not. It just says that this part of the movie is the intersection of universe and information. It's important to note that determining to do a documentary within a larger movie, that is a storytelling technique. This genre chart will not tell you how to express those things in your story. It won't say, do it as a documentary in a documentary, but it will tell you, now you're working in the realm of information, which has a completely different flavor than any of these other things on the chart. So you know the kind of feel you want to create, and that can be an emotional guideline for you, just like you might play music in the background to write a particular scene, because you know that it brings out the feelings in you that you want, or surround yourself with memorabilia that brings back particular feelings that you want. If you've never done that as a writer, by the way, it's a great way to get over writer's block, is determine what feeling you want to create in a scene, and then surround yourself with items or sounds or smells or whatever that change your atmosphere in such a way that you begin to feel the way you want your audience to feel in that scene. And then you can write from that emotional perspective yourself, and when you go to another scene that requires a different emotional perspective, you end up creating a different atmosphere for yourself in your writing area, and that brings you into that new mood through music or smell or sight or sound, and at that point you're able to write the other scene. It's kind of the writerly equivalent of method acting, and it's a great way to get over writer's block. It helps you feel what you're going to be putting down and changes the nature of your words, changes the nature of your dialogue. Okay, getting back to point and case though, we've looked at information and we can see how it describes the situation informatively, as opposed to Blade Runner, the situation in an entertaining manner, Some Like It Hot situation, The Verdict, and exploration drama. They're all situations but played through each of the four modes of expression. Now let's move on the information line and come over to physics and see, when we move from a situation to an activity, what kind of information we get. Well here, if we want to know what or where it is, then the information here is how it works. What does it do? Okay, we have active information in Jurassic Park that describes how it works or what it does, which is different than the information in Citizen Kane, which said what or where it is. Describe the situation informationally, it describes an activity informationally. Now you might have thought that was a little bit funny, that was humorous. You'd think it was up in comedy, which would have violated jumping one space over rather than going to something that's directly next to it. But did you laugh? No, I don't think you did. It's not actually laugh out loud funny, it's more entertaining. There's a fine line between these, because really there's no line between these, no line between any one and any other. It's really a continuous spectrum, as I said at the beginning, going all the way through all the shades of all the colors of experience emotionally. But just as we might pick red, blue, green, and luminosity, black or white, how bright it is, okay? That's what you end up with when you go through this chart. You end up with areas that are saying, let's call everything that falls within this range blue, everything that falls within this range green, red, blue, black, okay? Effectively, we've colored them the same way we would on the spectrum, using those kinds of primary colors. But that doesn't mean that there aren't things that actually range right up to the edge that are so close to one that it's almost the other. So, if you are moving from here into entertainment, you are pushing it up to the limit. And if you think about it, in the middle of Jurassic Park, an adventure which has some comic elements in it, to have this information push it as far as it did through entertainment toward comedy, that ends up creating something like what you saw. It's almost too funny to fit in the movie. Now, why do I say these are connected to each other? Because, in fact, if you took this as a kind of a sheet of paper and wrapped it around a paper towel roller, a cylinder, this would be right next to this. This row would connect with that row. You just clip it out, roll the whole thing around on a paper towel roller, a cylinder, and this connects to that. So in a sense, everything down here in information, the next step from information up goes into drama. The next step from information down goes into entertainment. So it's very hard to draw that on a flat chart, but you can go around this thing in either direction as much as you want, as long as you don't skip a full step. Okay? Very important to picture that when we decide we're going to start plotting our audience's emotional through line. Then we need to be able to work around this in a spiral or reverse spiral, up it, down it. All of these things around the cylinder are possible pathways as long as you don't skip a full step, or from here to here, for example. All right, continuing the information line, we're now going to move into information of mind. Information of mind. Well, that is effectively what it means. Understanding it, being able to conceptualize it. That's what this is all about, which fits in with an entertaining concept. Wrap it around to the bottom, the next thing you have is conceptualizing something. Rather than being an entertaining concept, it's just getting the concept, as it were. So it's sort of what it means, grasping it. In Bob Roberts, we're talking about what it means, capturing the concept, conceptualizing what's going on here. All right? Now, if we were dealing with just one through line, main character, obstacle character, objective, or subjective story, then it would violate things if we go up to a comedy of errors, for example. Well, what are we doing up in a comedy of errors where she's misreading him? Or a comedic situation, perhaps, where the relationship between them is played for laughs up there. The situation's played for laughs. How can that be when Bob Roberts is what it means down here? Well, it's important to recognize that just as we said this wraps around this way, it doesn't wrap around the other way. But each of these areas, universe, physics, mind, and psychology, those are going to be represented by different through lines. Main character, obstacle character, objective story, subjective story. So you can have 4 different modes of expression in a story at one time. You can have a main character be funny and an objective story be dramatic. But they won't be appearing in the same area because all of the universe ones will fall within the realm of, say, the objective story. So the objective story can have funny situations, entertainment through atmosphere, exploration dramas, where and what it is, if that was the objective story. Suppose the main character was in physics. Well, then the main character could be up here in comedy, doing physical comedy, even while the objective story was over here in drama, even when the objective story would be down here in information. So it's possible in that way to have at any given scene, if the scene has elements of more than one through line in it, often you'll find objective story and main character in a scene. Often you'll find main character and obstacle character and subjective story all going on in one scene. When you do that, then any combination of any of these things is possible, but you'll only get one out of any column at a time. There'll be one out of here because it's the only mode of expression you have at the moment for that particular class, that particular domain. And you'll have maybe one out of here. Now, before we go into more detail about that, let's fill in the last area on the chart. And after I fill it in, we'll come in and show you how to use this chart to plot that emotional pathway, or to use it to analyze the emotional pathway in an existing story. We're going to move over to psychology. And here we've seen twists, errors, manipulations, which we call growth to be nice. And down here in psychology, we're going to be looking at why something is important. In other words, why we should spend our time thinking about it. Or, in other words, coming up with something informational that forces us to think about it, gives us pause for thought, cause for thought. So, at this point, we are filling out information, moving from what and where it is, how it works, what it means, okay, into capturing the thought process about it. Why should we put in our thought processes about it? What is intriguing, I guess is the best way to say, about it as we consider it, okay? And down this line, that fits right in with the mental activities of mental manipulation in each one of those as well.